Hello, my name is Shannon, and this is my lesson plan for TEEL 362. Comes out of the hands-on teaching kit on pages 66 to 67, and the name of the lesson is Mismatched Circles. I intended this to be for students in 3rd grade. The Kansas College and Career Ready Standard is K1, Number and Operations for Fractions, 3-point NF. The cluster is that students will develop understanding of fractions and numbers, and the standard is the first one. The original standard talked about when fractions are divided equally, but I kind of modified this for fractions that have unlike denominators. The objective of this lesson is that students will construct circles using fraction circle pieces, meeting the conditions in 4 out of 5 circles. And you'll see what I mean about conditions in a little bit. The children's book I selected to use with this lesson is Holy Cow by Terence Satters. This book does a really good job of showing the way that things can be divided when their denominators are not the same. The manipulatives that you will need from the hands-on teaching kit are the whole fraction circle, as well as all the smaller fraction pieces. There should be 2 1/2 pieces, 4 1/4 pieces, 3 1/3 pieces, 6 1/6 pieces, and 8 1/8 pieces. For this activity, the students will need an activity sheet, which I'm going to show you, pencils, and colored pencils. I didn't have colored pencils at my house, I only had crayons, but when used in the classroom, I would suggest using colored pencils because it's easier to erase if the students make a mistake. I will begin this lesson by showing the fraction circle and pieces on the overhead. I will explain to the students that sometimes things are not divided equally. There are different ways to use unlike fractions to form a whole. So this is clear, so it's meant to be used on the overhead, and it's also a good way for the students to be able to see the same information all at the same time, especially if it's the beginning of when they're learning this concept. I'm able to take the whole fraction circle piece and then line up the edges of the smaller ones and just work the pieces until I find a way to form a whole. So for this example, I've used a 1/2 piece, a 1/3 piece, and a 1/6 piece. And they all fit together to form a whole, so I can use that. I'm going to allow them to see a few examples before having them complete the activity sheet. Students need to be careful about circles that will get close to, but not exactly a whole circle. So if I start out using a 1/2 again, and then I add a 1/4 piece, then I add a 1/6 piece, I still have a little sliver that I need filled in, but even my 1/8 piece is too large to fill it, so I won't be able to use that combination. I'll have to try something else. The 5 different conditions that the students will have to meet are that they use 2 different colored pieces. It doesn't matter how many they use as long as they have 2 different colors, 3 different colors, 4 different colors, and then 4 total pieces, and 5 total pieces. This will help students think creatively and work with those around them to share pieces. Ideally, I'd have several sets of these fraction pieces, but even then they're going to have to share with those around them and then kind of swap out pieces and see what works and what doesn't for the assignment. On the activity sheet, I will already have the circles because those should all be the same size. What's not going to be filled in is the middle section because I don't know what the students are going to choose to use. So they need to take their piece, line it up to the edge, and then take their pencil and then trace the fraction piece to give them that nice straight even edge. I also want them to use a different color for every fraction used. So this is the quarter and that's a quarter, so I can use the same color for that. But if once they switch to a different fraction, I want them to use a different color just so I can tell the difference. I want them to complete 4 out of 5 circles correctly, meeting the different conditions. And once they've done this, I want them to go back, choose any 2 circles, and show the work. By show the work, I mean I want them to write the fraction out, finding the lowest common denominator, converting those fractions, adding up, and then simplifying until I get 1. So for this first one, I wanted them to use 2 different colors. You can see I've used a gold and a green. I have 2 quarter pieces and 3 1/6 pieces. Lowest common denominator is 12. I convert all my fractions. I add everything up until it comes to 12 out of 12, which simplifies to 1. So that works out, so I've given myself a check mark. For the second example, I wanted to use 5 pieces in total. So I've used a third piece, a sixth piece, 2 1/8 pieces, and 1 quarter piece. The lowest common denominator is 24. So once again, I've done all the work. Comes to 24 out of 24, which checks out to 1. So that's good. As I said, students are going to be assessed by their ability to create 4 out of 5 fraction circles when they meet the listed condition. There are various ways that the fraction circles can be completed, even on the example I used, in that both conditions. So yes, I used 2 different colors, but I also used 5 total pieces. And so there are lots of different ways that the pieces can be shuffled around and worked in order to meet the conditions. Hope you've enjoyed watching this lesson. Thank you. Bye.